Joining us now on the news at 10 to examine the expectations from the U.S. and Nigeria is Channels TV data analyst Babajide Gusowo. A pleasure to have you on the news at 10. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is back from the U.S. Should we expect any new trade policy? I mean, for instance, do we still have bilateral trade advantage with the United States?
Yes, we could look at the bilateral trade advantage, but we've seen trade talks. We're discussing trade. We're about to discuss trade surplus. But there's one question on the lips of Nigerians, and that is, what does the president's visit to the United States really mean for them? In simple terms, what Nigerian youths are still trying to decide is which country is better, the United States of America or Nigeria? And there are two ways we could look at this. The first is we could look at what Bill Gates even mentioned, and that is the new advantage of nations is in the potential of their human resources. And so if we look at that as the basis to determine which country is better, the United States of Nigeria, we'll find out that the United States has, in terms of concentration of human capital, 33 persons per square kilometer. In Nigeria, we've got 212 persons per square kilometer. So in terms of looking at our potential as a nation, Nigeria's potential, Nigeria's concentration of human capital per land area is much better than the United States. But again, if we look at it from another perspective, which is the monetary terms, the budget, we've got an 8.7 trillion naira budget, Melinda, that has still not yet been passed. The United States has a 1 quadrillion naira budget. You heard that right. Approximately over 120 times the size of our budget. So if you're looking at, in the final analysis, the conclusion is, in terms of actuals, the United States is actually stronger. In terms of potential, Nigeria has the potential to be greater than it is currently. So
does the U.S. need Nigeria as much as Nigeria needs it?
Again, we could look at that from different perspectives. Let's look at migration, for instance, and why the United States, why Donald Trump, for instance, needs to ensure that he's very close to Nigeria and to President Buhari. In terms of migration, we've seen that there's a lot to do. Let's look at even imports. Within that 2003 to 2010 window, we had a lot of imports. Imports were in double digits. As at 2008, we were importing the U.S. was importing $38 billion worth of goods from Nigeria. In simple terms, the United States was coming to Nigeria with trucks to buy from Nigeria, even though a lot of those goods were oil. Today, based on today's evidence, January to March this year, less than $2 billion. So just imagine that for one moment. In 2008, the United States was importing $38 billion worth of goods. This year, down to $7 billion. Last year, less than $7 billion. So indeed, we need the United States. In terms of migration, the United States needs us. And that's because in Africa, Nigeria has the most, among all other countries in Africa, Nigeria immigrants are the most in the United States. Over 300,000 migrants from Nigeria living in the United States, more than Ethiopia, more than Egypt. And so President Trump definitely understands the advantage he will get if these migrants are on his side, and also the advantage he will get as a global leader by working with Nigeria. But Nigeria also understands that a lot of the challenges we face, especially with the dollar, is because the United States isn't buying as much as it used to be, as much as they used to buy from us, compared to that 2003 to 2010 window when they were buying so much.
Well, even at that, some could argue that they're economic migrants.
Oh, yes, they are economic migrants, and that is why those economic migrants are sending a lot of remittances to families, to you and I. So we're getting remittances of over $20 billion, Melinda, for migrants all around the world. And those are where Nigerians are very strong. So we've got Nigerians all around the country, all around the world, working very hard and ensuring that they are also very productive. But what we also need is for Nigerians to even work harder than they do work abroad to ensure that the nation is prosperous.
What do you think about thoughts that some analysts believe that we should look inwards rather than rely on foreign nations for infrastructure funding? Are we over-relying on the U.S. for Nigeria's development?
And that is the challenge, Melinda. I do think the evidence also shows that we're over-relying on the U.S. and we're not getting as much as we should be getting. Look at the capital we've gotten from the U.S. in the last 5 years. We're still yet to cross that $5 billion threshold. In 2014, we were getting $3.7 billion capital from the United States. Last year, we barely scratched $2.5 billion. So we can no longer rely on the United States. We need to look inward. We need to look at how we become more productive by prioritizing resources. We need to block those leakages and ensure that we use funds in the right places. And in the final analysis, Melinda, we should remember that which country, if you are asked that, would you rather hold the passport of the US or will you rather hold the Nigerian passport? And you don't have to answer that. Or whatever answer you give me, you need to ask yourself the second question, and that is, does your answer contradict your recital of the Nigerians' national pledge?
Pledge, not the anthem now.
No, the pledge. And that is the challenge. We have a lot of young Nigerians that will prefer to hold the passport of the United States, even though they pledge to Nigeria, their country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest. And so we need to encourage Nigerians to look more inward. We need to encourage younger Nigerians to ensure that they are more productive and don't just rely on the government. Because at the end of the day, it is our country and it is not the country of Donald Trump.
Something we'll argue about right after the program.
Oh, surely.
But thank you so much for
coming. But also remember
about
the pledge.
All right.